Yay. Hi, you guys. It is I, Becca Lori Hector, here with Being Becca Live. I realize that I am in the dark right now, but I wanted you guys to see the background because what? I'm outside. Oh, I'm outside. I can't believe it. I'm outside. I'm not in a winter coat, you guys. I'm not in a hat. I'm not in a scarf. I'm not in any of those things. It is a beautiful day here in Colorado. When you sit out there in the sun, when I sit out with the dogs, t-shirt, that's it, just a t-shirt and, well, and pants and things like that, but just I don't need any other coverings, I guess. So yeah, welcome you guys. Being Back Alive is sort of our weekly gathering where we get together and kind of chat about what it's like to be an autistic adult alive right now trying to live. And as you can see, I'm out on my porch, and the dogs are out here with me, because I can't let them out in the yard alone. Too many dangers out there for by themselves. Hey Stevie, hey Ross, but they are just fine up here, and because the deck goes around the whole house and it's closed in, so I know they're up here somewhere. And I thought I'd let them enjoy the fresh air while I was doing this, because we were out this morning and it's just so pretty out there in the sunshine. I can't even tell you. As you can see now that the light has adjusted, right? The background is it's so bright out there. It's crazy. Thus the hat and sunglasses. So anyway, here I am with Being Back Alive. And this week I come to you from my porch, which I like to do this when the weather is nice. I like to do Being Back Alive from outside because it gets me outside, and I like to be in the sunshine, and I like to be out in the nice weather, and that's good for my mental health. And it is in alignment with the life that I want to live. So I do that often. And so this is the first time in a real while, because it's been winter and freezing out here, that I've been able to come out and do it. And I thought, yes, let me do it. And you want to know why? I'm in like this mood right now. I've been home alone all day. So Antonio left early this morning. He had a doctor's appointment for his finger, which, side note, update on the finger, he had his stitches removed. He had the big, we called it the claw. It was, these two fingers, so he had out, like, these fingers were free, and then this thing, and it was all wrapped down to here in a cast this whole week. So he went to the doctor this morning. Doctor removed the stitches, took that big old cast off, put him in a half splint, and he is good to go for the food truck this week, you guys. Yes, I am so excited. We're going to come back for breakfast only so that he doesn't have to prep for breakfast and lunch right away, because he is still a little bit slower and he does need to move a little bit slower. So we're going to come back for breakfast only this week, but I'm really excited. Hey, Bill. Hey, Joe. I'm super excited for that, because we've been sort of stuck in the house, and Antonio is somebody who can't sit still. I'm sure you have those people in your life. He's somebody who just can't sit still and needs to be busy doing something. And he goes into really like foul mental health places when he doesn't do stuff, when he doesn't stay busy, right? So that being said, he's very excited to be out there doing the shopping right now. And I am very excited because I'm alone, and I've been alone in the house since this morning. And I know I love him so much, and I love our animals so, so much. And I love the life that I've built so, so much. But this past, whatever, I guess a month now, over a month, because of the hand situation, we've been doing everything together, like everything. I've had to help him shower. I mean, there's been no space for us to have our separate alone time. He's really only been able to play even video games this past like few days. So we've been attached, and that's made it really, really hard for me to access the part of my brain. Fiona, please stop banging. Fiona, hey, you're banging the computer. She's such a beast. Bull in a china shop for real. She's going to knock this whole computer over in 2 seconds. There she goes. Anyway, so yeah, it's been like hard to access my writer's brain when I don't have that space to hear my own voice, right? So I know I'm sorry he's out doing errands. I'm sorry that he's out in the world and having to deal with the world, but I am so happy to have the house to myself for a little bit. And it actually, I was starting to feel guilty about it. I was feeling a little like, I feel bad. Always cars when I try to do this. I swear it's quiet as like a mouse here most of the time. Anyway, so yeah, I was feeling like guilty about it and kind of like whatever about it. And then I remembered that our whole routine has sort of been upended with this whole hand thing. I've had to do a lot more around the house. He's had to do a lot less around the house. And it's been really kind of exhausting. And so this was a precious amount of alone time, which I have like another hour or two, I think, after I'm done with you guys, to keep writing. But that but that was really like a interesting moment for me, that I realized that last night when I went to bed, I was really kind of looking forward to having alone time this morning. And as I was like doing my morning this morning, which is slightly different when I'm alone, of course, I was like, man, I like doing this alone. No one's here making me eat breakfast, because Antonio makes sure that I eat breakfast. And some mornings I don't feel like eating, and I don't want to eat, or I'm not in the mood for breakfast foods or whatever. Hey, Nancy. So that kind of thing. But um, I was just enjoying it. Like, I just want coffee for breakfast, and there's no one here to tell me I can't have coffee for breakfast. And I'm gonna watch what I want to watch on TV this morning while I drink my coffee and answer my emails and that stuff. So I was really trying to enjoy it, because we've sort of been on top of each other, and I'm sure he's feeling. I know he's feeling, because he's told me he's feeling really useless because he can't really do anything. So this should be a good relief, him coming home with this slightly smaller situation that hurts a whole lot less, which is awesome. Um, so yeah, but anyway, that voice in my head brings me right to the topic, because that voice in my head that was like, yeah, I could do whatever I want if I wanted to right now. I could stand on my porch naked and drink coffee. Not that I did, but I could have, right? Because there was nobody here to tell me not to, right? And I love Antonio. He does the things that I know I need. He tells me to take my vitamin. He tells me to eat my breakfast, and all those things are things that I need. But I was a little bit of like a rebellious teenager this morning. I was like, yeah, I can do whatever I want, kind of thing. And then when I sat out with the dogs, I could listen to a podcast that I felt like listening to instead of music because we just listen jointly usually, and things like that. So I had a little fun with that this morning, and that little rebellious teenager voice in my head is the topic that I want to talk about today. And I want to talk about my inner my inner evil villain, right? So I think that we all kind of have this voice in our heads that is the unedited version of ourselves, right? Um it's that uh, it's the voice that says the snarky things that you would never dare to post or dare to say out loud or anything. Text somebody, maybe very special people in your lives. But I think we all have that voice, and what I noticed is that I associate myself with my inner evil villain. Most of my life, my inner evil villain was what I wore on the outside. And so, because it kept me safe, I was too prickly for a lot of people, and I was too direct for a lot of people, and too nasty for a lot of people. And that kept me safe from people. So, oh, there goes Fiona. So, that inner evil villain that is really now my inner evil villain, right, was kind of lived on the surface for a really long time of my life, somewhere from about 16 to 30, maybe 35 even. Although by then, by the time I hit diagnosis, that's when things really were starting to change in here too. But anyway, really, so for a good chunk of my life, like a good 20 years of my life, that inner evil villain was the outside. And so what happens is, if I'm doing something and that inner evil villain comes out, right? Either like out my mouth literally, or even if I hear the voice in my head, I go, oh, right? And that's the whole thing, Joe. Joe says she can't imagine me being nasty. And that's crazy to me, because I was such a nasty person and so sour and angry and frustrated for so many years, that's what was on the outside, was this nasty, flippant, sarcastic, ironic person. And that kept the people who weren't strong enough to put up with me away. Right? If they couldn't handle that exterior, there was no way they were handling the interior, right? And the crazy thing is, all the people in my life now can't imagine that version of me. Like, they can't see it, they couldn't think it. Let me tell you guys, it is work to get here, but it is hilarious to me that that's how people see me, because really, my inner evil villain isn't so far away. And when she comes to the surface, or when I hear her voice, I worry. Right? The minute I hear a voice, I go, am I in like a bad state? Right? Am I angry about something I'm not sure about? Am I something, right? Is something going on? Where did she come from? Right? And then I have to remember that she was a part of my life, and she was the mean personality front, right? She was the mean person, the mean way that I what's the word, that it communicated with the world, right, was through this version of myself, because it was safer. And the more years I lived on the planet, the more years I was sure that that was the way to go. And the more years I was protecting myself, and the nastier I got, and the smaller my circle got, right? And so one of the things that I changed when I was going on this whole journey was that I didn't want that foot first. I didn't want my evil inner villain first. I didn't want everyone to meet her first. I didn't want to live as her all the time, because I was angry and frustrated and always ready for a fight all the time. And it's not a healthy way to live. It doesn't feel good to live that way. So that was one of the first things that I wanted to change. And that was when I started changing my input and my output. And we talk about that in the course, when I started saying, I don't want all of these sarcastic and ironic and nasty memes coming through my feed, because then I share them and I add them to the world and I say them out loud and I give them life. Right. And so I removed that stuff from that input, because I wanted my output to be different. And so here I am 8 years later, right? And it's different, right? I'm different. I'm a different person. But I have to remember that there's a really significant part of me that is that evil inner villain. And it came to the front this week because Antonio and I were talking, we're not news followers, really. We don't participate in politics. It's too much anger and tension and things I can't control involved in those scenarios, and he's not interested in it either. And so we really don't participate in that stuff because it's not good for our mental health, right? So we just choose to not allow that input in. But we do keep up. Like, I don't not know what's going on in the world. I don't not know, right? And so the other day we're sitting out with the dogs, and Antonio says to me, oh, did you see we bombed Syria? Right? And I was like, right? I saw that, right? And my inner evil villain, right? I swear to you, and it was such an unedited moment, and I can't believe that I'm going to share it out loud with the world, but she just turns to him and says, yeah, well, war makes money. Just like that. I mean, and that's a voice of mine that I know existed. It's a sardonic, very very blunt version of me, right? I do have those opinions, but most of the time I keep them to myself or to me and Antonio. And most of the time I don't say them out loud. I just kind of think them and go harumph to myself, right? But I need to acknowledge to the world, really, because you guys are under some fallacy about who I am, right? And all those things. Because it fascinates me that so many people think that I'm just nice all the time. Let me tell you, nice is work. Okay. It takes a lot of work to be nice and kind all the time. And the other thing is, I wasn't always nice and kind. I spent 20 years of my life being mean, to keep myself safe in a self-protective way. But that's who I was. And that's the kind of bartender that I was. I wasn't this nice, oh, what can I get you, bartender? Don't imagine that. I was not that bartender. I was like, what do you want? If you don't know fast enough, I'm moving on. That's the kind of bartender I was. Don't ask me if I'm single, because you're not going to get anything out of me. That was the kind of bartender that I was, because that was the way that I protected myself. And as I've kind of unraveled and pulled away the layers of really trauma, right, of all the trauma coping mechanisms that I have, what I found is underneath I'm actually a really nice, caring person. I actually give a good lots of shits about a lot of people, and what's going on in their lives, and would go out of my way to be nice and kind and support people. Bird, I don't know, and support people on their journey, whatever it is, right? However I can get you there, right? That's who I am in here. And I guess, and I know, not I guess, I know that's who I was protecting this whole time, right? I was protecting this really soft, nice, kind, caring me, right? Because she's can be used and she can be taken advantage of and all of those things, right? And so I built a shell on top of that. And when I chose to be vulnerable and I chose to be authentic and I chose to go on this journey, I had to take that off. I had to get to know what was inside, and what was under that covering that had been protecting me for all of this time, right? And I did. And so that brings me to what I want to close on, which is alignment. If you are signed up for my newsletter, you got the newsletter this morning, or this afternoon, depending on where you live. And this month, I talked all about getting and staying in alignment. because in realizing all of this crap about my inner evil villain, who does exist, and I will allow her to breathe and not shut her away, because valid, everybody gets validated, right? And all of the portions and parts of who we are and how we got to where we are valid, right? So I won't dismiss her, right? But that's not how I want to present to the world anymore. That's not in alignment with being who I want to be and living the life that I want to live, right? Being that person on the outside is not in alignment with that. And so it has to go away. But I choose not to dismiss her because there were lessons learned, right? So we talk about taking the lessons and leaving the emotions, right? This is a case of that, right? Take the lessons I learned from that. There are some scenarios and cases in which that hard, rough exterior does things for me and protects me, right? There's many a boardroom that I have sat in. And I say that with this hand like that. But there's many a boardroom I've sat in where that exterior has allowed me to make arguments and push forward the things that the autism community is determined to be important. And without that rough exterior, I wouldn't be able to take the things that they say back to me about they don't do that, they, right? Even though I am the they, right? And so there are places and parts and lessons and things that I still need that version of myself for. And she has a purpose, right? But I don't want her to be the foot that I lead with anymore. And because it came out so flippantly, and I heard her so clearly in that moment, like, yeah, well, war makes money, right? I just thought, well, there she is, right? And that's a side of me that people don't really know right now, because I don't choose to step forward in that foot anymore. And in fact, I don't really feel those feelings very much anymore. That doesn't feel true to who I am anymore, because they're not really in alignment with who I am. But it was just this flippant moment of just being exhausted by politics. Oh, here comes, look at this. Okay. Dirt bike down the big old hill. One day. I sound like an old lady. But yeah, that's what's coming down the hill is this, and the dogs are going to chase her probably. Excuse me. Anyway, so that was sort of my feeling, was like I said it out loud and that felt so weird. Why? Because it's not in alignment with how I live anymore. But what I didn't say out loud was the thought that followed it, which is an even worse why is it so hard for me to say, evil inner villain thing. And I said, well, good for the new president. At least he's doing something. Is that awful? I mean, I felt like poo came out of my mouth, essentially. But it was this, just because of the way that I think that politics function. It was my knee-jerk reaction, and it came out so naturally because of the topic that I thought, wow, this is a piece of me that I have to talk about, because I know she's still in there, and I hear her all the time. I just don't let her out anymore. Right? So I'm curious, you guys, do you have an inner evil villain? Is there someone who says things in your head that you would never kind of let out of your mouth or post on your Facebook or anywhere publicly? Would you even share that inner person with your spouse or your person, your human, right? I don't know. I mean, I do now. I'm 5-6 years into it almost, right? We just are. But do you choose that? Or maybe you don't have this experience and you have something else. Yes, please do it, Bill, because I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking the exact same thing. Please turn the dirt bike into a fart joke. Yes, because it was just so apropos. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. So I wanted you guys to think about that. Like, kind of, what is the foot that you present to the world? Is it your inner evil villain, right? Or thank you. Joe said, if that's the extent of your evil, then I'm the fucking devil. Well, girl, it is not the extent of my evil. It is just the recent spewing forth of what was evil. And there it was, I think, much more inside. But a lot of that was the latent anger and the latent trauma. So I don't know, you're kind of early on in your diagnosis. So maybe that inner devil, right, has some growing to do. Maybe you have some processing to do. And that'll lighten. Some of it also happened with age. Sorry, you guys, I hate to say that, but I just don't have the patience to be so angry at the world anymore. I'm too tired. I'm too old. I know it's a waste of my energy. And so I really kind of stopped doing it. And so this inner evil villain has disappeared, except on particular topics. For example, like my sense of humor. There are a couple of my bubble people who know that I have a really nasty sense of humor when it comes down to it, and they can send me another car, and they can send me so loud. Okay. And they can send me the inappropriate memes, and I will laugh, right? Will I post them on my Facebook? Will I put that back out into the world? No. But I still have that evil sense of humor. I still like that kind of comedy. I still really, when there are certain topics in which I still think that way, like about privilege. Whenever I'm talking about privilege, out she comes. There she is, ready to say the truth, right? Whenever I talk or I'm goaded into talking about politics, out she comes, right? And the reason that I cut her off, right? Nancy says, I call her my evil twin. I'm usually nice, but I have my moments. I think everyone has their moments, right? And that's my point, I guess, is that not that I want to put up this false front to you guys that I'm always nice and kind and all of those crazy things. But that's the me that I choose as a part of my alignment process to step forward with most of the time. That doesn't mean that there aren't days where I'm angry, where I'm nasty, where I'm bitchy, where if I'm pushed into a corner, I won't defend, right? So, for example, I am really, really, really loyal to my bubble people. If I feel like they're being attacked or being made a victim or being in any way treated unfairly, right? It's like I have a mama bear inside that because I never had kids, she's frustrated, right? And out she comes, right? And that's when my buttons are pushed, right? And so to dismiss the fact that she exists would be unfair. And so I just need you guys to know that we all have that. And I guess I want you guys to think about which foot you choose to step forward the most into. And is that something you're okay with? Right? And think about that. But I also just felt like you guys needed to understand a little bit of my humanness, right? There's a nasty girl inside, and I don't think she grew past 16, right? And so my responses often feel like a teenager's response when I am wearing that hat or feeling that way about a particular thing. And I just think it's interesting to talk about those components of our personality because we all have this inner evil villain. Oh, when I'm driving, out she comes, right? And so, no, when I'm live streaming with you guys and I'm thinking about these introspective things, of course I come off nice. But there are definitely times when I'm not nice, when I'm not kind, when I make a mistake, when I fall out of alignment, when I make a choice that's not the right one because it doesn't work with the life that I'm trying to live, right? It happens. I still make those mistakes. And I know that I need to share that so that everyone knows that no matter how far in the process are, there's still that piece of you inside. And that piece of you inside really has a job and has a purpose, right? And a function. And so not to dismiss that person entirely, but to make a conscious choice about how you want to step forward into the world. That's all. So those are my big, grandiose philosophical thoughts for today. The sun is now beating directly into my ear, and it is getting very hot. And it will soon begin to boil. So I am going to end the live stream there. I hope this has given you guys some food for thought. I hope that the dog barking this entire time hasn't driven you crazy. And I hope that you go and have an amazing day. I am going to probably bring my computer out and sit outside and write after I give the dog some lunch. And then, Antonio will eventually be home and my alone time will be over. But I hope it will be returning in a more routine way because he's feeling better. So yay. That's it for me today, you guys. I am off to take care of my animals and write and do all of those fun things, but I will be around and about on the interweb as always. And then, of course, I'll be back on Sunday with Growing Gratitude, and then next Tuesday with the next Being Becca Live. So please let me know with your thumbs up whether you like the topics, whether you like what I'm doing, or thumbs down if you don't. Comment wherever you see this video, or you can email me directly at info@beccalory.com. That's Lory. You can head to my website and use my contact page as well. And while you're there at beccalory.com, you can check out the Redbubble store, check out my Ko-Fi, read my writing, all the other resources on there, my social media. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. I'm curious in what other scenarios your evil villain comes out, right? Go have an amazing day. Seek joy, share joy, create joy, all of it. And I will see you on Sunday for Growing Gratitude. And I hope to have some good stories from the truck. Bye, you guys. Have a great day.